treated to Geordie journos at the London Stadium. Funny one, that. Funny one. I mean, we'll split this video into two a little bit. We'll maybe analyse the game itself here first, and I think probably a little bit more focus on the run of fixtures Newcastle United have been on, and that little sequence between international breaks, which, as we all know, has been such a remarkable set of results with some amazing, historic and impressive performances in the mix. So, right, lads, I'll come to you first, Jordan. What did you think of that today? What is your overriding emotion? Because I've got to say, I was immediately disappointed to concede a late goal, but I think perspective might be needed a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and give perspective, because I was the same at the full-time whistle. Newcastle United are leading 2-1, 3 minutes plus stoppage time to go. They've got a great opportunity now to go and win it, and they should have went on to win it. They had obviously Isak done really well to score his 2 goals, but I think he's my lads might disagree. But I do think he should have scored that third one. The way he stuck around the goalkeeper.
I thought he was going to chop back, you know.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was going to hit it first time he's left. I thought he'd chop back when he's right and just pass it into the net with the defender committed. I thought that was probably the easier option, but who am I to know? I play 5-a-side on a Thursday night, and he's a £63 million centre forward.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, yeah, it was a tough one to take when they conceded in the 89th minute. But what I would say is, look, that first half performance was nowhere near, and we were turning to at half time, and look what we said, we'd take a point. Even coming down on the train today, I would have taken a point here. It's been a really long, busy schedule for Newcastle. They've lost bodies to injury. It just all seemed to come to a head today. It did feel like a little bit of a game too far. So, you know, it was a game too far, and they picked up a point. So, yeah, perspective, I think it's a really good point. West Ham are in good form. They had a really good start of the season. Obviously 1 point above Newcastle in the table. And yeah, they've been a really dangerous side. They had a good win in midweek as well. And I do think, how much did that win in midweek take out of Newcastle? Because it was a big effort. We felt that emotionally, it felt like 20 years worth of build-up was put into that one game, and it took a lot out of them. They came here today and they didn't lose. So I'm happy with a point. Yes, they had an opportunity to win it, but they didn't, and it doesn't matter. We'll move on, national break now, get players back. We'll have a deeper squad to attack the season when it resumes.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing. I think, Dom, what were your star men from today, and do you think the conditions maybe played a little part as well? West Ham also were Thursday night, Newcastle were Wednesday night, both were tough European games, and it was incredibly warm here and quite sapping on the players, I would imagine, because we were boiling up there in the press box.
Yeah, jumpers and jackets weren't the best choice today. But yeah, I thought Kieran Trippier's continued his good form. 6 assists in 4 games from him. Wow. Great assist for Alexander Isak's second goal. Alexander Isak, 2 goals, goes without saying, though, as Jordan says, he probably leaves the pitch slightly disappointed not to have got a hat-trick. Big moment in the game that Newcastle had the momentum, and I think if Isak had scored that, Newcastle probably go on to win this game 4, maybe even 5-1, just with the momentum they had after the half-time interval. So Isak, Trippier, I thought, who else? I thought Fabian Schär actually, again, covered a lot of potential dangerous moments, cut things out, and where Newcastle's defence were undone on a couple of occasions, conceding for the first time in the Premier League since the last international break. I thought Fabian Schär was probably the pick of the defenders. So yeah, Fabian Schär, Kieran Trippier, and Alexander Isak as well.
So I'm going to throw one more name in there. I think, don't laugh.
I just know what's coming.
You know what's coming? Look, I've been a critic of him in the past, and I know Jordan doesn't like that, and don't think that's funny. But I don't think Dan Burn, I think there's a lot of fans out there have been rightfully asking the question is whether Dan Burn is the short term, never mind the long or medium term answer to Newcastle United's left back position. I think it's fair that fans ask that question. But what I will say is, the one thing that Dan Burn has managed to add in this little sequence of games in the international break is he's a threat in the opposition box, which he'd never looked for 18 months previous to that. He got 2 goals in between the international breaks. He could have had another one here today. I think he's really starting to look, for a big lad, he didn't look a threat in the opposition box, whether that's the quality of delivery, whether that's the work on the training ground. I don't know what's happened there, but he certainly looks more of a threat, and that to me is kind of using his natural advantages that just didn't really seem to get used. He was a big lad that didn't really win many headers in the box. I would say between him and Botman, they never really looked much of a threat, but those goals have started to come from defence now, and I think that's a real positive to take. And I'm going to pick out one little ball that he played as well, that for that Alexander Isak third chance was a fantastic defence splitting pass. I've not seen anything like that from Dan Burn in the 18 months previous to that, so I think he deserves a little positive on his performance. I almost put him in my 3-star ratings, but like I say, I think I went with the same kind of people that you did. Shea, standout man. Trippier, not far behind. And Isak for his 2 goals. Could have been 3, yes, but come on. He's a goal scorer who's only bettered by Erling Haaland in Premier League stakes this season. And there's a big reason as to why Erling Haaland came over at the end of that 1-0 defeat, or 1-0 win over Manchester City, and asked for Isak's shirt, because class recognises class. Right, so that's the game out the way, I think. Let's talk about the sequence. It doesn't.
Magpie there.
Just one.
Oh, he's top of the seat.
Just one.
Symbolic.
Where's your
He's
mate?
actually trying to poo on the seat. See you there. That's YouTube content.
That really
Magpie
is.
poos on claret and blue seat.
Good lad. Good lad.
I'll have to get a photo of that and put it over now so you can see I'm not lying. And the Magpie's actually pooing on the seat. Uncut.
Totally ruined my video. Oh, has it? Oh, it's just done it again.
This is a cut.
Lads.
Get a photo of that. Right, well, we're going to analyse the season, but we're analysing the whereabouts of this magpie in the stands here. Right, that's going in the
Terrible.
Christmas outtake, so that doesn't make the video. Right, the little sequence of games, you probably, you said this on numerous occasions, Dom, so I'll come to you first. Does it get much better than this? Of what we've just seen in this sequence of games?
No, not really. And we said just before the video, I was fortunate enough not to be at Brighton in the dark, where you guys, it didn't feel like it could get much lower in the context of Newcastle's start of the season after that 3-1 defeat at Amex. And now here a month on, and for me, it's probably been the best month I can remember covering Newcastle United, and certainly following the club even as a fan. It's just, a win today would have been the icing on top of the grand cake it already was. Maybe just a step too far, but a point is still a very positive result at a tough place to come. West Ham United obviously above Newcastle in the league have had a good start to the season as well. So yeah, I think you've got to take the point and take this incredible run Newcastle have been on, because like you say, Liam, like we've said before, I don't think it gets much better than this. And we're going to the international break now, 2 weeks without a game.
Oh, there's his mate.
You're welcome. You're welcome the international break, but then you go into it in a real positive mindset, knowing you've got key players like Joe Linton, like Sven Botman, potentially Joe Willock, not too far away from returning from injury as well. And the squad will be in potentially a much better place come that Crystal Palace game in a couple of weeks' time.
So, Jordan, we were there at the Amex. Luckily, Dom was enjoying a holiday somewhere. We couldn't have imagined, really, could you, that you would go then on a run of games where, of course, there was Brentford, which was an edgy one at St James's Park, the first of the sequence of clean sheets. Then the three of us went over to San Siro, enjoyed an amazing experience out there. The debut in the Champions League after 20 years of being outside of that, to go and get a result. A sketchy performance, was nowhere near the best, but they kept another clean sheet and came through with a point. Talk me through the next one. What was the next one? Sheffield United. To come after what potentially could be a really sticky, a really tough game, to go to Sheffield United who hadn't won. I know a lot of people were talking about that, saying we might get that first win this time round against Newcastle. But this is just built. We're just built different these days. Newcastle United. It's not really the same sort of fears and worries that we have. Went and beat them 8-0. A remarkable game, and then just carried on to go on from strength to strength with Manchester City, then Burnley, and then PSG, and then into this. I mean, could you have imagined when we were sitting in that press room in particular, going through potential questions for Eddie Howe, talking about feeling on the edge of a mini crisis? Could you have imagined we'd be standing here at the London Stadium, unbeaten in the sequence that would come after it?
No, absolutely not. Couldn't have imagined that for 1 minute. That Brighton game, maybe at the time it wasn't over exaggeration because Brighton are a good side, but because of what followed before that, the sort of collapse against Liverpool, who was the other defeat in there, Man City. The defeat against Liverpool was a really tough pill to swallow. We done a video after, and we were really, really disappointed by that as to how they lost to 10 men. And then you go to Brighton hoping for a response, and we see nothing from Newcastle that day. It was a really flat performance, individually all over the pitch, just really poor performances in there. And on a video on top of that as well, we started to question the transfer business, which I don't think criticism has completely been erased because I'm not going to obviously dig out players and stuff, but there's certain. Standout Tonali's the main one. There's still question marks over him.
Dig out. I'm not digging, but gives me space.
I don't want to dig out because I think Tonali needs time. He needs time to adapt. And to be fair, today's second half I thought was really good. When he switched sides, played down the right hand side.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you here, but I do think that's a fair. I think there might be some fans out there who don't feel that's a fair question to ask, but I still believe that the transfer business, particularly in the last window, still does bear question marks over it. Because you've got Lewis Hall, who was brought in, who hasn't had any impact at all in the team. I think people maybe expected by now that might have been some kind of impact. Certainly when I questioned that back then, I know the reaction on Twitter from a lot of fans to me was, he'll be in the team by then, he'll be in the team soon. Hasn't happened, and he's not anywhere close, to be honest. Tino Livramento has probably been the one who, with that Man City performance, you watched it and thought, right, wow, you can see why they've signed him. He's quality, there's no doubt about it. Tonali, you see bits, other parts of his game, you think, he was meant to be the answer to all the questions of a lack of midfield depth. I feel like the bringing in of Tonali's almost posed more questions than it's provided answers. And look, there's a lot of time to go. The lad he's got to break the language barrier. He's playing a new league, not as much a new team now because he's been around since July, so it's maybe not quite the same, but a totally new way of playing. From the way that AC Milan players we've seen. He's had a lot of things to contend with, settling into a new country, there's a lot of stuff like that. I think there's plenty of time. So this isn't a judgment on Sandro Tonali as a footballer, because in many ways I think technically you can already see that he's a fantastic technician with the ball at his feet. Very clever in the things that he does and drawing fouls, very tenacious when he gets in little one-on-ones. But is he really fitting into this team like a glove? And I think the answer, everybody out there who watches the games with half a football brain would not think that's an unfair question. He probably isn't fitting into this team like a glove, like many hoped would happen. But I think that's fair, Jordan. I think it's fair that people do. It's only right that you critique. I think if you just think everything's great and everything's perfect, you'll never improve yourself. And I think it's only fair that I think a lot of that will be going on at Newcastle. They'll be trying to find ways to get the best out of Tonali and get the best out of the other players in this squad. And they're fair questions, because you can only say what you see, and what I've seen so far, I would say he's looked like a £50-odd million midfielder. There's no problem there. It's just, was he the right £50 million midfielder to fit straight into this team and hit the ground running? And I think the answer is no. He hasn't done that.
So I mean, going back from obviously the Brighton game to the unbeaten run that they put together, a lot of that has came about Tonali, because Eddie Howe's went back to players that he knows, brought back in Sean Longstaff, massive difference. And Elliot Anderson as well has came to the front. I thought
still looks raw like
he does, but I think Eddie Howe said Elliot Anderson has been coached to play a number 8 role for probably about 12 months now. Today he was put on the left hand side, and he did look a little bit. He did struggle at times. I thought he got better in the second half. But so yeah, the unbeaten run formed with a better midfield, I thought, and Anthony Gordon obviously excellent. It was that little gritty win over Brentford that I thought made a massive difference, because we've seen similar last season. Remember that Manchester City lost the Carabao Cup finally, went to Manchester City, got beat, and it was that Wolves game where they scraped through, they took the lead. I think Wolves equalised and Almiron scored later on, and it was just that little moment from Almiron that sparked them on to ultimately get top 4, and that it felt like that a little bit after that Brentford game, and they proved that. Look, the games that they've had, going to the San Siro, getting the goal of straw there, putting 8 past Sheffield United, Manchester City in the cup, can't underestimate that either. So look, they put a lot of effort into these bulk of games, and as I say today, I can't criticise them after today. It was a game at the end of a very busy run, and they emerged unbeaten, and I think they'll benefit from the 2-week international break. I don't think I've got much else
I was just going to say before, on the back of the transfer stuff, not to harp on too much, but it's a valid point that Newcastle came here today with almost a threadbare squad, and they've managed to pick up a point, which makes the point seem all the more valuable. But I said to Liam before the game, 7 of Newcastle's 9 substitutes today, with the exception of Callum Wilson and Martin Dubravka, have played fullback for the club. So there's maybe one too many fullbacks and not enough maybe strikers, attacking players who can influence the game, which is where Newcastle are short at the moment. So minor gripe in terms of the transfer window in the summer, but can't look past this past month and the effort Eddie Howe and his players have made and the results they've produced, because it has been absolutely remarkable.
Hopefully Harvey Barnes, who I did mention in that little sequence when we're talking about players, can come back fit and healthy and really provide that, because I do believe in time that will be seen as a good signing, but we haven't really seen anywhere near the best of Harvey Barnes at Newcastle United either. Right, does anyone want to run through the T's and C's? Is that us done?
That's your job, Liam.
Right, okay. Like, comment, share, subscribe, you know what to do. Click that little bell, it'll drop into your device whenever the Geordie Journos are on site, like we are today at the London Stadium, and we'll probably get ourselves around a little bit, I think, in the international break, to show you some of the sights that we love around our beautiful city of Newcastle and its surrounding areas. So like, share, comment and subscribe for more from the Geordie Journos.